Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to They Said What? My name is Mr. Rod, and this is the podcast where we take the loudest ideas floating around in sports, culture, business, entertainment, and everyday conversations, and we slow them way down just long enough to ask a basic question. Does that even make sense? Oh my goodness, can we please, pretty please with sugar on top, stop calling every single drafted quarterback a franchise savior and base it on what? A handful of college games? A clean throwing session in shorts? A strong handshake at the NFL Combine? A few scripted throws against air? A scouting report full of words like upside, ceiling, trades, processing, arm talent, and leadership presence? Come on, give me a break. Let's be honest. The NFL and sports media have created a quarterback hype machine that's often louder than the actual evidence is. And every single year, a young man who hasn't taken a single NFL snap gets introduced to the public like he's the answer to 10 years of organizational failure. That's dangerous, not just for the team and not just for the fans, but for the player. Because a true franchise quarterback isn't just a slogan. He's not a draft night graphic. He's not a combine workout. He's not a mock draft headline. A true franchise quarterback is a long-term cornerstone. He elevates the offense. He stabilizes the building. He gives the coaches answers, not just questions. He makes the team better. He makes his teammates better. He survives bad Sundays, adjusts to defensive coordinators, leads grown A men, protects the football, wins in structure, and wins when the structure breaks down, and proves it when? Over time. Not at the draft and not at the combine. That kind of player is all too rare. So the question is not, who's the next franchise quarterback? The better question is this: why are we so quick to crown one, especially before he's earned anything in the league? So now, what's the real problem with the phrase franchise quarterback? The problem is that the phrase has been cheapened. It used to mean that a quarterback has shown enough at the professional level for an organization to build around him with confidence. Now, it too often gets attached to prospects. Prospects, y'all, before they even earn the right to carry that moniker. There's a difference between saying this quarterback has franchise potential and saying this is a franchise quarterback. Those are not the same things. Potential is possibility. Production is evidence. Projection is opinion. Proof is not only in the pudding, but proof is performance. Sports media often collapses all four of those into one super lazy conclusion. The NFL draft itself has a long public record, and sites like Pro Football Reference maintain complete draft history going back decades, which makes it clear that a quarterback selection isn't some clean science where high picks automatically become long-term answers. So why? Why do teams keep reaching on quarterbacks in the first place? Well, because the answer is obvious. Quarterback desperation is real. If you don't have one, you're searching for one. If you're searching for one, you're all too vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, you can talk yourself into almost anything, and they oftentimes do. Because a general manager without a quarterback knows that the clock is tick, tick, ticking. A head coach without a quarterback knows that the offense has a ceiling. And an owner without a quarterback sees empty excitement, declining patience, and a restless fan base. So teams don't just draft quarterbacks, they're drafting hope. And in many, many instances, hope, as a good friend of mine would say, is not a very good plan. Because hope is a very dangerous thing, especially when it's used as a substitute for evaluation. Sometimes teams are not just asking, is this quarterback truly ready to become the face of our franchise? They are asking, can we sell this pick as a new beginning? That's how organizations get in trouble. Now, what role does sports media play in overhyping these quarterbacks? Oof. The media plays a huge role because quarterback hype drives attention. Mock drafts drive clicks. Debate shows need conflict. Draft coverage needs superstars. Fans want answers. Networks want stories. Analysts want to be early, no matter what the cost. So instead of saying, hey, this quarterback is talented but unfinished, the conversation becomes, can he save their franchise? Now, that's a ridiculous burden to place on a young player. A quarterback prospect may have arm strength, mobility, confidence, and leadership qualities. Okay, yeah, fine. But then say that. And then stop jumping from tools to destiny in the New York Minute. The sports media needs to separate scouting language from coordination language. A quarterback can be promising without being proclaimed. He can be talented without being transformed into a savior. He can be a first round pick without being a franchise quarterback. Now, why is college success not enough to justify the moniker? Well, because college football and the NFL are not the same types of jobs. In college, some quarterbacks operate behind superior offensive lines with better athletes against outmatched defenses and systems that simplify reads, create wide throwing windows, and then protect them from complex post-snap decision-making. In the NFL, the windows shrink. The disguise increases. The pass rush gets faster. The coaching gets smarter. The schedule gets longer. The scrutiny heavier. The locker room gets older. And of course, the pressure is all too real. A quarterback can dominate in college football and still not be ready to command an NFL franchise. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that he's a bad player. It just means that the projection has to be an honest one. Draft history databases show how many quarterbacks are selected every single year, including how many are taken early. But the fact that a quarterback is drafted high certainly doesn't guarantee that he'll become the team's long-term answer. So, what should teams do differently? Well, teams have to stop confusing need with certainty. So here's the hard truth. Just because a team needs a quarterback doesn't mean that the quarterback available is worthy of the pick. That's where bad franchises get trapped. They draft the position instead of the player. They draft the storyline instead of the evaluation. They draft fear instead of patience. Teams should improve by doing these 5 things. First, build a clearer, more defined quarterback grading system. Don't just grade arm talent, grade decision making, pocket maturity, accuracy under pressure, leadership under adversity, processing speed, durability, adaptability, and emotional steadiness. Second, stop overvaluing the combine. The combine can, of course, confirm athletic traits. However, it should not create the quarterback. Throwing well in shorts is not the same as converting 3rd and 8 against a legit NFL blitz. Third, teams love comparing prospects to current stars. They should spend just as much time asking, what does this player look like if the best case scenario doesn't materialize? Fourth, protect the young quarterback with structure. Don't draft him into chaos and then blame him for drowning in it. If the offensive line is broken, the coaching staff is unstable, and the weapons are weak, the quarterback isn't being properly developed. What he is being is exposed. And fifth, stop rushing the crown. Let the player become something before the organization markets him as everything. So, what should sports media do differently? Well, sports media needs to become more disciplined with their language. Instead of saying, well, this guy is a franchise quarterback, how about saying, well, this quarterback has traits that could develop into a franchise level play if the team builds the right structure around him. Now that's more accurate. Instead of saying, he changes everything, say, he gives a team a developmental path, but the organization still has to do its part. That sounds more reasonable. Instead of saying, he's our future, say, we see him as a major investment, but not necessarily a guaranteed solution, because that's the truth. The media should also track its own quarterback projections, because if draft analysts, TV hosts, and online personalities are going to crown these players every single year, then there should be some type of accountability on their behalf. Who did they call a franchise quarterback? Who did they say was a can't miss prospect? Who did they criticize teams for passing on? Who did they overrate? Who did they underrate? Where is the scoreboard? Don't just keep talking, measure. Because if a player and teams are judged by their results, analysts should not be allowed to live forever inside the safety of projection. Now, what's the better standard for calling someone a franchise quarterback? Well, a true franchise quarterback should not be identified, especially on draft night. How can he be? He should be identified over time. The moniker should require evidence like consistent NFL production over time, command of the offense, durability, leadership, late game poise, the ability to win against quality opponents, the ability to adjust, especially after defensive coordinators get film on you, the ability to elevate teammates instead of depending on everything being perfect around you. Now, that's the difference between being drafted to become the guy and actually becoming the guy. Now, a quarterback is not a franchise quarterback because the team needs him to be. He's not a franchise quarterback because the fan base is desperate. And he's not a franchise quarterback because the media needs a storyline. He becomes one because he proves it over the course of a long and successful career. So are teams completely wrong to take a swing on quarterbacks? Of course not. You won't find a franchise quarterback if you're never willing to take the risk. But there is a difference between a calculated risk and organizational panic. The smart teams understand that drafting a quarterback is only one step. Development is step 2. Protection is step 3. Coaching is step 4. Patience is step 5. And an honest evaluation is, of course, step 6. Bad teams, however, draft a quarterback and expect him to save the building. Good teams draft a quarterback and build the building properly around him. That's the difference. So what damage does premature hype do to the player? Well, it creates unrealistic expectations for one thing. The player walks into the league already carrying a label he didn't even create. Fans expect immediate transformation. Media expects instant proof. The team expects leadership before development. And every single mistake becomes evidence that he was overrated. That is totally unfair. But guess what? It happens every year without fail. A young quarterback should be allowed to develop into his role, just like every other position. But when the sports world calls him a franchise quarterback before he's even taken a meaningful NFL snap, it completely removes patience from the process. Because when he struggles, everyone acts shocked. Why? Because the industry sold certainty when all it had was projection. So let me close this out by giving you the bottom line, at least from my particular perspective. The NFL has a quarterback problem, but not just on the field. It has a language problem. It has a hype problem. It has a scouting accountability problem. It has a media exaggeration problem. And in some cases, it has an organizational desperation problem. A true franchise quarterback isn't born at the podium on draft night. Oh my goodness, no. He's revealed over time. My goodness, can't we give these players time, especially at that position? He's revealed through pressure, through losses, adjustments, leadership, consistency, through the ability to make organizations better and not just more marketable. So stop selectively calling first-round quarterbacks a franchise quarterback. Call him what he is, a prospect, talented, promising, developmental. Call him a major or even a significant investment. But don't call him a franchise quarterback until his play, his leadership, his durability, and his impact make that statement impossible to deny. Because when everybody is called a franchise quarterback, the phrase means absolutely nothing. And when the phrase means absolutely nothing, the evaluation has already failed. They said what? They said he was a franchise quarterback. No. Now, he may become one, but how about letting him earn it first? Thanks again for listening. Hope to see you next time.